This is You've Got an Hour with your host, Adam Griffin, and the timer starts now.
Well, hey there. Okay. I'm so excited to launch in today. I've got literally so many things happen this week that made me say, damn, that we're just going to launch right into it. And yes, if you've noted, I'm wearing pink currently because last week I wore green, and it's giving wicked. And if you need a reference to what I'm talking about further than that, then you can go Google or go watch the movie. Okay? And I should have worn the pink and the green on the weeks that I actually said this is not Glenda and not Elphaba. And I'm just realizing that now in hindsight. But they weren't them, so... And this is not the baby New Year. It's not even New Year's yet. We still have to get through Christmas. But here's the thing. So I'm just going to tell you up front. I have to take January off. So I'm going to do the countdown towards Christmas, and then we're going to take the break in January. I'm going to sort of like refocus, regroup, TMI on marketing strategies and try to be a guest on other podcasts for that month. So expect a rehash on social media of things that I've talked about here previous, and then we'll be back in February right at the start, that first Wednesday. We'll break bread together, and we'll whine about so many things. But let's launch into things that made me say, damn, this week. Okay, already I'm upset because I can't get the phone to cooperate with me. I'm hating the new Apple update. Whoever did the interface for this, fire them. I can't stand it. So last week we did a teaser about the JonBenet Ramsey story, which it's not a teaser because that existed since 1997. I was corrected. No, 96. I said 97 on the podcast, but it happened in the Christmas time of 96. Thank you, Natalie, a great listener that we have on the podcast, or listens to the podcast, I should say, that corrected me. If I ever say anything incorrect, please do. I live for that. I love it. Not just Natalie, I mean anyone listening. So I took all of these notes. Sounded a little like ASMR there for a second, didn't it? Maybe I'll do an ASMR episode in February. What do you think about that? But I took all these notes. I took 4 pages of notes about the freaking documentary that just came out in terms of JonBenet. I was like, I'm going to find the killer, you guys. I'm going to figure this out on my own. Well, there's a reason it's unsolved. It's very difficult to know who did it. And the main reason that it's difficult to know who did it is because there's all this evidence that they didn't even take DNA analysis of. So I'm just like, how the heck do you have something that this is triggering in a way? She was strangled to death allegedly. So that's what the cause of death they think was, or a blunt force trauma. So it's like things happen in conjunction was a theory that they discussed on the case, and one of those things, it's a Garrity that was used to strangle her, which is disgusting and terrible, and we don't even need to address that further, other than to say that they didn't take DNA analysis of the actual item that allegedly killed her. I couldn't find evidence of them taking evidence from the DNA evidence from the ransom note either, which is one of the main reasons that they were saying that the parents did it. Here's my theory after watching it. I think that without the evidence being actually utilized, and some of it has been tampered with, and it's, over 20 years old, this evidence now, it's like, okay, so what are you going to do? Well, almost going on 25 years, I guess. What are you going to do with this? Why did it take so long to do something with this? If you're not going to utilize it, then what kind of like police force are you considering yourselves to be? Come on. Like, it's called Boulder, Colorado, and you're hiding everything under a boulder. Get it together. But my theory is that it wasn't the family. I used to think that the child was involved because there was the CBS documentary that came out that, alleged, the son did it, and this is how the parents covered it up and all that kind of stuff. And it was big. It was huge. It was on CBS. And, of course, the family sued because that is defamation in the worst way if they didn't do it, and they're just, like, suffering under this. And they were paid a very large sum that was undisclosed. But it biased a lot of us that would, casually view this kind of thing. Like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense that this is who did it and why they did it, and, like, anyway, I don't think speculation is a good way to go about interrogation tactics or anything like that. Yes, of course, the public wants answers, but it doesn't mean that you need to run your organization in a way that is like just trying to appease the masses or make it an entertainment sector. This is really interesting as a follow-up. So John Bonet is kind of the first example, and it came in at a wave when people were more interested in the entertainment value of news rather than necessarily the news itself. And that's something that I grew up in, and I just think it's really interesting. I hadn't thought of it in the context of this, but someone did an article discussing how I've always been very concerned about this decades-long march we've had towards the lessening of journalistic standards and the rise of opinion journalism, which has divided our country, Berlinger says. Whomever that is in the context of this article. But that's not important. Just focus on the quote, not the source. Adding that he believed that this deep division has arisen because we each tune into different opinions on television, and the truth, it's somewhat ephemeral, which that word might be the word of the day. I don't think I'll be able to use it again because I couldn't even say it the first time. But that ephemeral, it just means like it lasts a very short amount of time. So John Bonet, it's really interesting how this is sort of the catalyst for journalistic impressions in our country. It's caught the gaze, not the Gays, the Gaze, of individuals in our society for, going on 25 years now. And there's a reason that it's been unsolved. I think it's due to negligence of the cops. And I also think, it's caught the gaze of everyone around us because it's sort of a shitstorm that, of course, we're all going to be very opinionated on in regards to. It's like a 6-year-old, and she was doing this sort of toddlers and tiaras pageantry stuff before that was ever a thing on TV. It's like this is the first sort of impression for a murder trial in a sort of like in an era where reality TV wasn't yet taking place. Like these murders, the Menendez brothers, the O.J. Simpson trials, which those of course came before this one. But that all is sort of like the predecessor of reality TV. All right, let's talk about something that truly made me say this week. And if you don't know who that was saying, yeah, it's the icon and the legend, baby Nessa from Wicked. She still steals the movie, And with that in mind, I want to flip the script to a scripted thing. We just talked about how this is sort of like the predecessor of unscripted television and that I couldn't solve the mystery. So what I will talk about is the mystery of why Hot Frosty was not nominated for a Golden Globe. Yes, they listed the Golden Globe nominees this week. Award season is here in full throttle, and I am so excited to see, I don't know, who wins from this. I think we're having a really good year of TV, more so than film, but there have been a lot of films that I've been interested in seeing, and my favorite, Hot Frosty, was not nominated. I'd like to know why. I'd like someone to answer why. I thought that movie was phenomenal. I haven't laughed that hard since Jurassic World. It was just a great film, and this is the voice memo of the week. This is me laughing after watching Hot Frosty. I couldn't sell the film better than just that little laugh. It's me, I just sound like a deflated tire, but that's how I was laughing after I watched it. It was such a good time. It was such a heartwarming film, and it warmed up a little snowman in the meantime. So that's really heartwarming, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get into the Golden Globes in totality, although it will be airing, and the people will be winning or declared a winner by whoever the Golden Globe Academy is, whoever those people are. I don't know what they're called. I should have Googled that. I look foolish, but who cares? You know what? It'll give you a chance to correct me. I told you to correct me at the beginning of this. What are they called? The Golden Globers? The Globetrotters? Who runs the Golden Globes? And who said that the globe was golden? Anyway, I don't know. But Selena Gomez is nominated twice. I'm going to break down just a couple of things. Selena Gomez is nominated twice. And one of the categories that she's nominated in is for Best Performance by a Female Actor in a Supporting Role in Any Motion Picture against Ariana Grande. And that is just really exciting for me because they've been pitted against each other in a sort of like Christina and Britney way our entire lives, or my entire life. I don't know how old you are. But yeah, so they've been pitted against each other. And I don't like to see women fighting against each other. It would be nice to see them together at the award show and getting along. But also, I'm rooting for Ariana. Just saying. Exciting news. Ted Danson is going to receive the Carol Burnett Award. I think that's highly earned. And so we talked about the fact that Hot Frosty wasn't nominated, but I think it's really interesting that John Chu wasn't nominated as a director. And the Golden Globes are kind of a joke and a sham in general. They really love A-list celebrities at this thing, and they tend to lean into that rather than, I don't know, prestige or maybe really who even should be nominated, I guess. But I was surprised that John Chu, like, they want to cozy up with celebrities, you know what I mean? But I was surprised that John Chu wasn't nominated. I was excited to see that The Substance, one of my favorite films of the year, was nominated as much as it was. Like, Demi Moore was nominated, as well as... Did you hear that exciting noise outside? Somebody's excited for The Substance. As well as the director of The Substance, which I believe this is their first film they've ever done. Very excited to see her be nominated. The woman's name is cropped out. Wow. Okay, a man must have done this. Chris Cappuccino, you're fired. Yeah, I don't want to keep talking about the Golden Globes. I mean, Gladiator wasn't nominated. I guess a lot of people are upset about that. I'm not surprised. Denzel Washington was nominated. I think that's more than enough to be nominated from this, and Denzel always gives an amazing performance. I haven't seen him in Gladiator 2, but I'm sure he stole the show, and I'm sure that he should be nominated, and I'm hopeful that he wins, because honestly, this was a year for the girls. I'm seldom excited by the men categories. Are you? You are? The men categories make you say, really? Okay, well, they don't make me do that. All right, moving on. So we've talked about A-list celebrities, and I'd like to cozy up with the fact that Angelina Jolie is back in full force, and she made an appearance on The Tonight Show, so that's Jimmy Fallon's show. Yeah, so she came onto the show barefoot. I mean, I haven't seen her in a film in a while, and I'm just wondering, is this the start of her OnlyFans? Why would she come on barefoot, you may ask? Well, she came on because she had a foot injury, and it was either like, okay, I'm going to hobble around in some sort of like cast situation, or I'm going to go barefoot. Which I don't know how that's helping her foot readjust and resettle, but I guess that is the better option if you're as elegant and as old Hollywood as Angelina Jolie is. I mean, she's a real star, so I could see why she wouldn't want to be pictured ever in anything less than perfection. So she came out with her perfect bare feet, and, you know, I think it's a great ad for OnlyFans. Get that coin, girl. Now, The Valley, now we're going to flip the script. We're going to talk about unscripted again. I want to go highbrow, lowbrow, highbrow on this. I like a juxtaposition, you know what I mean? I know the podcast is a little ADHD, but you can keep up with me. You're ADHD too if you're listening. Spoiler alert, not to diagnose you. Okay, The Valley. Now this was like sort of last week's news, but I want to bring it back. The Valley was this show that was a spinoff of Vanderpump Rules. Vanderpump Rules followed this group of, I don't know, people in their 20s, early 20s that were adults, you know, working in Lisa Vanderpump's bar, restaurant, and they all had little like mixes together, little rendezvous, if you will. It was kind of like Reality World, or hold on, no, oh God, what am I trying to say? It was kind of like The Real World, yes, Life in 3D. No, it was kind of like The Real World on MTV meets a bar. And after several seasons now, you know, they had a terrible season this last year. They've decided that they're not going to bring any of the cast members back, which I personally think is a great decision. They're going to start with a new cast, start fresh. I think these reboots are really, they're testy. You know, it's going to be a different vibe. I think they should rename the show if they're going to do that. I think they should, you know, name it Vanderpump, maybe not Rules, but Vanderpump Exists. Yeah, and some of those cast members are now going to join The Valley, which is the spinoff show. And I think that that's smart. I think that makes sense because they're not working in that restaurant anymore, and they don't have any ties to Lisa Vanderpump outside of they knew her as someone that they worked with. So, and I mean specifically on the show, because who knows if they even really worked in those restaurants. Let's not blow smoke up their ass. Let's just move on. Okay, this is something I want to address. This made me say, oh, damn, like really clutch my pearls. And I would say on the Richter scale of damnness, this is damned up. So, Village People songwriter threatens to sue anyone that calls YMCA a gay anthem. Well, what are you calling it then? I mean, Village People? Really? One of the gayest bands that's ever existed. They've been using it on the Republican stages for the entirety of not only this year, but a lot of years previous. And I've always questioned why is that allowed, and it's clearly because the songwriter is giving them permission, whereas most artists are like, do not play my music, Trump. Don't. The Village People, I guess the songwriter is letting them, with the YMCA not being a gay anthem. You know what, honey? Anytime that you want to allow things to come out of the closet, let it do it in its own time. And I'll just Menendez that there. Shawn Mendes, I'm saying, not Menendez brothers. All right. Now we're going to talk about one of the juicier things that happened this week. It's something that I'm shocked by, but I shouldn't be. I guess the U.S. Appeals Court upholds law forcing sale of ban of TikTok. So basically the court is saying if they don't sell TikTok to an American company, then it's going to be banned in the United States. This is really kind of the first case of censorship that we're seeing on a mass scale. I'm not saying that our First Amendment rights are going to be in question or in doubt because of this, but it's going to set a precedent that's going to be really, I don't want to say the word interesting because I'm not interested in seeing it go further, but it'll be different. So if this happens, if they don't sell it and TikTok is banned, there's going to be a lot of communities that aren't going to be able to easily access each other immediately. I'm hoping that there's a backup app that is in the works, probably by the people who designed TikTok. I'm sure that the individuals who curated TikTok are working on bypassing this. So it'll be interesting to see in the new year, when we come back, what is the result of that. So I'll put a pin in that. I'm not super excited. I mean, people have questions about safety and the mining of information from TikTok. And my question has always been, as many of you have also been touting, what are we doing with our internet that would allow that to not be safeguarded on a mass scale? Why would TikTok be the blame and the scapegoat for that? Why aren't you doing anything to curb that throughout all of the internet, if that's your major concern? I think that they're placing blame on what is a Chinese company instead of working on fixing the issue as they see it. I'll leave it there. I saw an article that says 'tis the season to search for trolls. So I don't want to troll the U.S. government any further. I'm going to move on. Oh, gosh. Yeah, there's something that's going on with Biden. He's considering preemptively pardoning Trump's critics, which I think is a great idea. This is a tactic that presidents are allowed to use. They can use pardons to their discretion, and I think that he should do that. I think SNL, I think other critics should be pardoned. I mean, look, these people are going to come out guns a-blazing. Literally, they love the Second Amendment rights more than they love the First. So I think that you should do everything you can in your power. And people that are questioning or upset about him pardoning his son, I don't really understand why that's even a question. I mean, he's a father first and foremost, and he should be concerned about that. Are you not? I don't know. If I was a parent and if someone was coming for my child, I would be doing everything in my power to protect them. And I'll just say that. Here's something that made me say a damn truly. Bitcoin, their price reaches $100,000 as a mark for the first time ever. I don't really care about any of these cryptocurrencies. I don't really see how it's something that, I don't know if it's like the Great Depression reincarnated within me that is saying, like, I don't trust that. Like I'm not putting all my money in a bank, and I'm not putting all my money in a non-bank, especially. Like, what are you going to go play with Monopoly money? What are you talking about? I've never understood it, and I need it to be explained to me like I'm 5 years old, and then I need to see the results and a histrionic of this being a cash that we can rely on. And that is why I did not invest in the Hawk 2 Girls crypto thing, which is hilarious to me that she is literally trying to get her coin by starting a coin. It's interesting to watch these people rise through the internet and have other ventures. It's like the Real Housewives when they start, their own little like bath bomb or like hair care line or whatever they're doing. And this girl, it's like another version of that. It's like she didn't even have to do a reality show in order to start a product. And the product was a bust. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits coming her way, I'm pretty sure, in her team's way for this, because it's considered a fast cash grab from Hawk to a Girl. Does she have a name? I don't want to keep calling her that. It's just a gross. It makes me feel icky. I want like a name. Like, is your name like? She looks like she could be like a Shelley, or Shirley, or maybe Samantha. And that's not a reference to Sex and the City, which if you've been listening since the beginning of the season and there's only 2 episodes left this season, you'll note that I did watch that for the first time this year. Definitely not a Margie Margaret or Chrysanthemum. She's not giving that vibe. Okay. Let's talk about something that's going to tie into the second half of this episode. And it has to do with McDonald's. McDonald's is having quite the week. We'll get all into it after the break, but I really want to talk about the fact that they're bringing back the snack wrap in 2025, to which I'm allergic, but still allergically say 2 thumbs up. And it's speaking of allergies, box lunch can just go off of a hill and crash. Did you see that girl passed away at a box lunch event? She was a Disney creator that had allergies. She expressed them to box lunch at this influencer's event and died as a result. There's going to be major lawsuits coming after box lunch. And obviously, I think that is a tragedy. And she shall be missed. Now, what I didn't miss and wasn't interested in necessarily, but still will probably be watching, unfortunately, is the Harry Potter series that's coming out. And before the break, I just want to give a little push for me to play Peeves, which is a poltergeist in the scenario of Hogwarts. Now, Peeves was deleted from any adaptation of the movies itself. He's a little shit, and I'd like to play him. So this is my audition to play Peeves, a poltergeist. Let me do a little vocal warm up. No one mourns the wicked. Okay, good. We're ready. Okay, so Peeves is described as someone that looked like a little man dressed in loud, outlandish clothes, including a bell-covered hat and an orange bow tie. Well, those are going to be noisy and they're going to interfere with the vibe, so I'm not going to be wearing those.
My dear Friar, haven't we given Peeves all the chances he deserves?
That's not him speaking. I read the wrong line. Okay, great. Well, this is off to a start. Take 2.
Wandering around at midnight, equal firsties, tut-tut-tut. Naughty, naughty, you'll get caughty. Now, should I tell Finch? I should. It's for your own good, you know. Students out of bed, down the charms corridor.
I don't know. I just like Peeves. I think he's a huge distraction and he's really wild. And I would like to play him. This is my favorite little snippet from the Harry Potter books.
Which way did they go, Peeves?
Filch was saying.
Quick, tell me. Say please.
Don't mess about, Peeves. Now where did they go?
Shan't say nothing if you don't say please,
said Peeves in his annoying sing-song voice. Oh, sing-song. Let's try that again.
Shan't say nothing if you don't say please.
All right, please.
Nothing. I told you I would say nothing if you didn't say please. So, gotcha.
I don't know. I like Peeves. He's demonic in a sense because so poltergeist means somebody that was never born and isn't actually a ghost. And I think that's really interesting. Speaking of Brits playing, not that I'm British, but speaking of Brits coming into play major roles away from Harry Potter, which more than 30,000 children have auditioned for the role, allegedly, of the main 3 characters. I'm like, isn't that every child in all of Great Britain? Was it, like, required? Did they make everyone do that? But the kid who played Matilda in Matilda the Musical, which was a really fun adaptation of the musical itself, she's rumored to be Dorothy in Wicked 2. And she's been in all the press events. She's been on the carpet. Her name is Alicia Ware. You may know her from is it called Annabelle? The movie where it was like that demonic ballerina, that dancer, that, as if you didn't know what a ballerina was. A ballerina's dance. Common sense 101. But she's had a very interesting resume. So if she plays Dorothy, I'd be interested to see if she sings. I mean, clearly she can. So that would be really interesting. Speaking of Dorothy, and this is the last thing we'll talk about before we go to the break, and then we're going to talk about the thing that you guys all voted for the most a damn worthy thing of the week. And boy, is it a topic. But first, I'd like to just discuss, in the Wizard of Oz of all the things that are ongoing, just this week, the ruby slippers were auctioned off, and they were appraised at an estimation of between $3 and $4.5 million. Well, boy, oh boy, and girl, oh girl, and they, oh they, did they sell for a lot more than that. They sold for an astounding, hold please, let me find my source, don't want to give you false information, $32.5 million. It is the most valuable movie memorabilia ever sold at auction. And I'd like to say very bluntly, who paid for that? And are you single? They also sold at this auction a couple of other items from The Wizard of Oz, including the witch's hat. Now, when we're talking about these shoes, there's 4 pairs of shoes that exist. One of the pairs exists in a museum, which is good. It's in an LA museum, and it was bought at auction for $2 million by Leonardo DiCaprio and Steven Spielberg to put into the museum. And that is great. We need to keep some of the film things preserved if we're going to have a society of film here in LA. I think it's important to, keep the histrionics of certain things here, but these slippers were the ones that she actually clicked her heels to go home in. So I guess that, that's why they sold for more than any other movie price has ever sold before, including this weekend. They sold some of the pieces from Home Alone. They sold a scarf, knit cap, coat, and mittens. All of that sold for about $32,000. Would you be embarrassed if yours sold for so much less than, it's like, oh, we sold for like a tenth. Not even a tenth. Way less. 32,000 after 32.5 million. I don't know. You do the math. 100th? 1,000th? Tom Hanks' co-star, which I'm assuming would mean the frickin' coconut from Castaway, sold for $162,000. They sold rare surviving golden tickets. Rare surviving golden tickets, like golden tickets of golden tickets, survival wise, amazing. From Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, that's the 1971 version, the good version. They sold for an astounding $118,000, and this was all done by Heritage Auctions, which is, it rivals like Christie's auction house in New York. There's a couple of locations for this place, of course, but the guy who started it, I just want to talk about his history very quickly. Like, I love the Ruby Slippers thing, and I love that element, but I really want to talk about Steve Ivey, this guy who started this. He was he's titled as the century's foremost numismatist, which means study or collector of coins, paper currency, and metals. This guy started at the age of, some say 13, some sources say 14, selling coins, finding rare coins and selling them. So he's a little entrepreneur, right out of the gate. And by the time he was 20, he had already started an auction house, and now it's like one of the most formative, highest grossing. They have $2 billion worth of sales that have been acquired in 11 cities worldwide since the 70s. Steve Ivey is the CEO and co-chairman of this, and I don't know how he leans politically or anything about him other than I think this is a very impressive enterprise that he started. And the auctioning works in this way. It's not like they get most of the proceeds. They're like a manager in the sense that they only get up to 10%, or they do get 10% of any earnings that are made, which I find to be really interesting. I'm sure they tack on fees to make extra money, but it's a very interesting enterprise. There was the lawyer that I worked for in New York, which is actually how I got any of my savings, and I took a moment to say savings because where is it gone? Where did it go? Oh, to the nose. The savings that I did acquire at one point came from a lawyer that thought that he could sell some of his items to Christie's in New York, and we did actually auction some of it off at it, and he made a very small amount in selling a large, vast amount of his estate back in, what was that, 20?
Okay, I'm cutting this story for time. It's really not that interesting, and who cares? Basically, I went through the auction process with him, and it was just fascinating to go see what that world is like. I highly recommend you go to an auction or an estate sale just to kind of see how, I don't know your expenses, but how the other half lives, and see what people get up to on a given Saturday or Tuesday or whenever they hold them. All right, enough of this.
Okay, we're going to be back after the break with something really exciting. We're going to talk about the thing that you guys voted as the most damn-worthy thing of the week. And then also, we're going to have a second reading from my book. This is the second of 4 readings that we will do in totality. And I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger because I do want to sell the book. But it's a little teaser just to get into the holiday spirit and to give you some laughs because the book does start on Christmas Day. Yes, we'll be right back after the break. We're going to have some words from my parents. Yay!
Hey everyone, this is Linda LaFaye, and I've always got something to say. And today, I'm going to talk about manners at the grocery store. Now, if you're one of these people that like to just go up and down and have a luxurious afternoon in the grocery store, because that's what you enjoy, you have a good time. But for those of us who are trying to charge through it, because we got things we need to do, and this is just one of 5, please be conscious of hogging up your space in the aisle, hanging out in the aisle where I need to be. Just take in what's going on around you. And God bless these people that are working in the grocery store, maybe for minimum wage, and they're helping stock the shelves. They're trying to help all of us who can't find the chocolate chips on aisle 3. Now, are you being mannerly and kind to people who are really helping you? Do you think about that? because I think you need to. And I'm sorry I have to say that out loud, but, we're all so hateful to each other. Can't we just act like we're sisters and brothers? Is that too hard for you? You're welcome.
That was my mom. Here's my dad.
Hi. Bye.
I know that's right. Okay, we are going to talk about the thing. Is that Angelina Jolie's foot? Excuse me. We are going to talk about the thing that made you guys say damn the loudest this week. Now, there were 4 things to vote on, and if you don't know what they were, then you're going to have to go to my IG at You've Got an Hour and figure that out for yourself because you're smart and you know how to read, right? Now, if you don't like what you voted on, this is your fault because you guys are the ones that are voting, and I'm following in due process exactly what you actually vote on. So this week you said a damn the loudest to my man, the UnitedHealthcare CEO. Oh no, not him. Excuse me. The fact that the UnitedHealthcare CEO alleged killer was found. Again, I showcased the leg, not the dainty ankles. Okay, look, there's a lot to unpack here, and I want to talk about a lot of the facts. But first of all, I just want to give the highlights very quickly, which are this man Luigi, who allegedly did it. Okay, and I hope he didn't. I hope he's not found guilty because he's gorgeous. And I think that the fact that the FBI and the CIA found him on a 5-day sprint, and they found him through a McDonald's. I told you the snack rack was gonna come back because what a snack. Let's wrap it up. This man was found at a McDonald's, and I don't know if he was eating a Happy Meal or an unhappy meal, but the Hamburglar has been burgled, okay? He was found, and we don't know if he's found guilty yet or not. I think it's weird that in the justice system we're gonna showcase the mugshot of someone that's a potential person. It's not really innocent until proven guilty. It's like, oh, we're gonna just make them guilty immediately. Let's make this a reality show. And boy, has it been one. Because first of all, he's so hot. I understand why you're trying to lock him down, FBI/CIA, because you want to keep that man to yourself. I get it. Not only are you trying to do that, but so are Armani, Wilhelmina, and Ford models. So, hello. Everybody's trying to lock him down. His name is Luigi. I'm renaming myself Mario, legally, tomorrow. Because I'd like to play Smash Brothers. Super Smash Brothers with him. I'm ready for a conjugal visit, okay? I haven't been divorced yet. It's time. Oh, it's time. So, first of all, he's hot. If you didn't get that, you should look him up. The backpack that they found in Central Park that was allegedly his had Monopoly money in it. They held a look-alike contest in Washington Square Park. You know how they're doing those celebrity look-alikes? I'm not going to unpack those. I'm so sick of them. Well, maybe we'll have a segment on it next week. But they held a look-alike contest for him, which is iconic. And also, who would volunteer to do that? Because what if you actually look like him? You could have been used as a scapegoat. Not very smart thinking, okay? And then also, he was found in a McDonald's. So, what is this, an episode of Salt Lake City? I mean, you're really out here doing the most, folks. The most. This is the most American story I think I've ever heard. So, let's unpack it. Let's really go there. This UnitedHealthcare CEO is totally a villain, or was, in the past tense, was totally a villain. All of these people that are CEOs for these healthcare facilities, these insurance companies, they love to deny a claim. It's always said, delay, deny, and then defend their decision on that. That's a triple threat whammy that people say about these insurance companies. And what has come out of this is that a lot of people are being more upfront about all of the claims that they've been denied, and all of the things that they had to pay out of pocket even though they're covered by insurance, or being denied by an insurance outright because they have pre-existing conditions, which is unethical. And anyone that is operating a healthcare company is obviously immoral, because you're more worried about the money and the fact that you want your bonuses and you're worried about your stocks, and that's just that's a sick way to deal with sick people. So anyway, you can pretty much gather my take on this, but I obviously I don't think that I'm not advocating for murder by any means, but this UnitedHealthcare worker, the CEO, was working in a company that just this December implemented a new line item denial process that will take effect, and did take effect December 1st. This process allows UnitedHealthcare to deny charges for inpatient and outpatient facility services that it considers routine. Yeah, I think we should all just linger in the silence of that, because that is really playing with people's lives. It's not okay. You shouldn't be doing that. And after this man was murdered in cold blood, which is a phenomenal book by Truman Capote, but in a non-book-worthy way, more in like a Salt Lake City way, this guy was murdered in cold blood, and they've been working for 5 days to find him. And in that time, all of these companies that work in the healthcare system, including the CEO of CVS, which, honey, if you got a long line of receipts, you might as well just showcase yourself at the top front of this. Am I right? Like, what are you hiding for? No one was even calling for you. What is that about? Like, who else is hiding themselves? The CEO of Blockbuster? But they've been hiding their photos and their information from their websites. Now, are they still on LinkedIn? Yeah. Can you still Google them? Yeah. I mean, it's not like you can expunge yourself from the internet yet. I'm sure come January, after TikTok is no longer a thing, if that happens, it'll be easier for them to hide. But in the meantime, John Wilkes Booth is out and about. I'll just say that. Okay. But also, the one good thing that has really come from this, other than, we might have America's Next Top Model at hand, is that some of the policies that were going to be implemented have been rolled back. They've curtailed some things, like Anthem Blue Cross was going to set a precedent from an insurance level on how much coverage they would give to anesthesia. That's the process that puts you under in a surgery safely. That is something that is really an exorbitant cost. Most people cannot afford it out of pocket. And if you have insurance, it's supposed to cover things like this. That's the whole point of having insurance. Newsflash. And to say that you were going to tell the doctors how long they can do the anesthesia is so immoral and so unethical. Like, how are you going to tell them, hey, we know outright that open heart surgery is going to take this amount of time, and if you can't do it in that amount of time, whatever the issue that transpires as a result of that is none of our problem. Like, maybe, you'll have to rush and it'll kill the patient, but that's okay. We'd rather that than have to pay more money or cover more money for anesthesia. Psycho. Just psycho. Well, Anthem reversed that policy this week, and it's totally because of what happened with UnitedHealthcare. So there are fuck around and find out strategies out there, aren't there? That's all I want to say on that. I don't know if I said that in a way that pissed everyone off that listens to the podcast, or if that's something that I really shouldn't have said out loud. But, what do you expect? Fuck around and find out. I myself have a pre-existing condition. This isn't something I've talked about on the podcast before, but I have Crohn's disease, and I had a lot of trouble finding an insurance that, first of all, wasn't going to charge me an arm and a leg.
Actually, I wasn't really going to talk about this, and now I've decided I don't want to gloss over it. I want to really give the details in an honest format, because I think that as somebody with a pre-existing condition, and mine is something that is treatable, and I'm thankfully in what is considered a remission state because I'm not having flare-ups like I was. It can be debilitating. It can definitely make it difficult to go work in office, and thankfully during the pandemic I was able to work from home, and now I'm in a place where I could really work not so remotely. I would love to do a hybrid position, or let's put it out in the universe, even an in-person position for a period of time, because I feel confident enough in that. But what I want to say about this is to expand upon this insurance issue. From my own personal experience, I have witnessed through my grandparents the ways that they were treated and denied from a Medicare perspective, and it's going to be even more difficult if Trump gets his way with the Medicare system. I'm very worried for the elderly people that cannot afford to go and do things off of the Medicare system and are not able to seek second opinions on things as simple as like their ability to see and hear things, because that's what I witnessed with my grandparents in the specific nature of like their functionality throughout day-to-day tasks. For myself, the shots that I take, I have to take them every other week. It's something I'm going to have to do for the rest of my life. There's other medicines that I could convert to if I needed to. Convert was a weird word to choose. Switch might have been a better word. But my doctor is saying this is the best course of action, and I've had 3 different doctors confirm this in totality now because I have moved. And every single one of them says this, is something I'll have to be on for the rest of my life. Long story longer, That whole process of finding an insurance, covering the insurance, having to get a GI, which is a gastroenterologist, to perform a colonoscopy on me regularly, and by regularly I mean I think every 2 to 3 years I have to do that for the foreseeable future, just to make sure that I am where I need to be with my shots and that the shots are something that I can continue to take. Those are very expensive tasks. The shots themselves, they range from $1,200 to $1,500 per shot. I have to do 2 of them per month. If I paid with an insurance, it would be something that would not allow me to afford my rent and the shots. I went through trying several insurances for this matter, including here in California, covered California. Now, hopefully in the next year, I will get a job that will allow me to have health insurance. But for the time being, the option for me was to remain uninsured and to get assistance through the program itself that makes the shots. And that's the only way that I'm able to afford my medicine. And when I get sick, I pay everything out of pocket. I know a lot of people in this country face the same dilemma, the same issues, and it's quite frustrating to ever talk to anyone in person about this and how, the coverage that I could get from an insurance is not going to be enough for me to be able to afford what I'm doing, point blank. And I'm a fairly healthy individual outside of this. This is the only condition that I currently have. Maybe there's something with anxiety that needs to be treated again, but not to joke around, but there's nothing else that I have to really focus on. People that have diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, anything at all, those are considered pre-existing conditions, and it makes it difficult for people to afford their livelihood as well as their medical bills. Medical debt is something that is totally immoral and something that as a society we have failed people on. So when I'm talking about these UnitedHealthcare people, I'm not just talking about from my own perspective of what I've gone through and seen with my family, but I'm also talking about how just unethical as a human I find it to be. What these CEOs were trying to do in terms of denying people benefits, denying people coverage, cutting corners, and really playing with people's lives does not need to get lost in the mix of the conversations that we're having. Death is obviously an unfortunate thing, and a lot of these CEOs are inconsiderate about the fact that people die because of the denial of coverage that they allow. The medical debt that racks up, even with insurance, can literally squash people's lives. We need to continue to keep that in the mix of this conversation. I don't know if I even wanted to keep this story. I really hesitated even telling my own story about my own Crohn's issues. And if it wasn't interesting, I hope you fast forwarded and now you're back to where we are here. Hello. Hi, welcome back. Now back to the thing you voted most a damn for, which is Luigi.
If you beat me to becoming a lawyer and defending him and winning him over, fuck you. You will fuck around and find out. That's not a threat. I'm not a villain. I'm not a villain like these healthcare workers that are. They're not healthcare workers. They're the antithetical of healthcare workers. These CEOs are essentially, and I'm 2 minutes over time, and I acknowledge that. The Joker. Remember the Joker in that Batman: The Dark Knight Rises movie when he's in the hospital and he's pretending to be a nurse?
That's these CEOs.
They like blow up the hospital and just play victim after. So I don't know why we keep letting jokers joke around with our livelihood and our bodies. Okay? I'm going to end with one piece of positive information because I want to flip the script. This is also about The Wizard of Oz. Get over it. There's been a lot of that going on. It was my favorite movie growing up. I would sit people down as a child and have them watch the movie with me if we were going to be on like a first play date to see if they could match my freak. And by that, I mean I would fast forward to the sections with the Wicked Witch and I would watch them to see if they could handle it. And if they were perturbed and disturbed by her, then they didn't get it. They didn't get the memo. And that was before Wicked was ever a thing. I just felt like Margaret Hamilton was justified because if you steal my sister's slippers or anything that I feel like is going to connect me with an ancestor that's passed, that's in my family, oh, you best believe I'm going to chase you around. And she didn't do anything that bad. Come on. Not that bad. So anyway, here's a piece of wonderful information. The original Glinda was queer. She was in a relationship, actress Billie Burke, that is, the woman who played Glinda initially, in a relationship with director Dorothy Arzner. We love a female director, and we love a queer relationship. Now, with that said, let's get into the book at hand. So if you remember from last week, and if you don't, I'll catch you up anyway. This book is called Not So Marvelous. It deals with an individual that is quite cranky. He's an elderly person who retired this year, and he's trying to celebrate Christmas very calmly and quietly with his betta fish, which is his sole person around him. Well, it's not a person, but you know what I'm saying. This individual is interrupted so rudely by a superhero. And in this universe, it's a lot like what goes on in the sort of Avengers world. And it's not referencing the Avengers by any means, because I'm not trying to get a copyright issue. Let's say this quicker, Adam. Basically, I can't speak faster. Let me take a sip of water. That was the tiniest little sip. That was like a driplet. A driplet? I meant a droplet. Okay, piglet. Poglet. This man, his building is devastated as the actions of a superhero is trying to take out a supervillain in the area. And as he exits, he acknowledges that, like, some people didn't survive this counterattack, and you're labeling them as a superhero, but they're also at fault. There's issues here, and I don't find them to be super heroic, because I know people that died as a result, and selfishly, I don't have a home tonight. On Christmas Eve, I'm going to have to go somewhere else. And so he's in search of next steps. He shook his fist to the sky and moved about the midnight streets to find a taxi. Thank God. But that was a thought short-lived. Having waited 42 minutes outside in nearly snowing conditions on the eve of Christmas for a cab, he finally was taken in. And just as the thought began to enter his brain, it left it. For lo and behold, before Barry were the sounds of 2 headrest screens playing ads for the newest superhero efforts. A plug by the morning news team. To make matters worse, the cab driver was texting while driving. Can you put your phone away and focus?
Nobody's on the road. Look at this.
It wasn't just texting while driving. It was watching a live video while driving, for on the phone of the cab driver was this devastating occurrence of just an hour ago that Barry had witnessed. Barry watched on as the cab driver swerved through traffic, cheering on the building's destruction with boom and kazam galore. That was my house! My house, you insensitive asshat!
What's with the goldfish?
Stop the car. I'd rather walk. Now, if you remember, Barry doesn't have a goldfish. He has a betta fish. But it was the middle of an intersection. Stopping without watching your phone while driving would be scary enough. Barry weighed his options. Get out of the car and likely injure himself, and more importantly, his fish, his betta fish. Or stay in the car until he could safely get it to a halt. And luckily, Barry knew the best way to end a good time, which is through America's true favorite pastime, and People Magazine's May 2018 poll for best connectivity in the workplace. Complaining. And don't Google that, because I made it up. Or, as Barry came to know and love it, kvetching. This knockoff Hasbro named hero got keys to the city, and for what? To go around and blow up its buildings? He can have my fucking key! While he's at it, considering he blew the door right off its hinges. With a pressing key to the glass that thinly separated the veil of driver to rider, the pedal of the brake was pressed with equal measure and force. Out! No! No! But I've so much further to walk! This was the target of Barry's rattling complaints, to leave expeditiously. Sometimes it pays to hit them where it hurts. Feigning disheartenment to keep the driver in a gray area, Barry hid his true motives.
Oh, look at him. He's just an innocent old,
He's so old. Old man that complains a lot. I'm sure he has a sad life, thought the ageist driver. Yeah, so was life. The cab driver contemplated as if kicking this old man out of his cab was some unforgivable act, and Barry was all too happy to play victim in this little role play. Sniffle. Okay, I'll get out. Merry Christmas. Barry's wincing pout converted to sheer joy as the cab driver pulled away. He didn't charge me! Success! And it was a Christmas miracle. But the smile and seemingly holiday cheer faded as Barry turned around to witness just where he had been parked in front of, and whom. Chapter 3. That's right, you're getting 2 chapters this week. They're short. Bam! Barry was plopped in front of, no, not Henrietta Davenport's apartment. Yes, the fated ex he was betrothed to once, and was found guilty of cheating on with one of her best friends 11 years ago. He was a sitting duck. Now, this wasn't Barry's best moment, nor was the cheating, but it, much like today, wasn't his worst. If you can imagine, and I'm sure you have. Good, I'm not going to say more on it. And Henrietta had never gotten over it, rightfully so. But this did make living a mere 4 blocks away from her difficult. Barry had to be diligent when shopping, doing pickups or drop-offs of any kind. They were in the same neighborhood. Now, he had managed to change most of his shops, minus the local butcher, whom knew all the details and befriended Barry as a result. Now, perhaps that's rooted in misogyny, or even the impractical new chance of rebounding with Henrietta. Who's to say? The butcher upgraded and often threw in an extra measure for anything Barry bought. "Barry, here's a lamb!" And here, 2 blocks down and 2 avenues over, Barry found himself face to face with the doorman, a true wolf. Bam Bam, as Barry had nicknamed the doorman / wolf. Bam Bam. For, as it was aptly, "Here it comes, bam!" Barry was swiftly ushered away, but it's just too late because Henrietta already spotted him as she strolls in this exact moment up the street with her nightly cigarette, the long, brooding kind that dangles a yardstick from anyone's mouth and shows a bygone era of class mixed with not giving an F for one's lungs. Here, the signs of disdain of an OG smoker and a true diva, that cigarette dangling with her perfumed disenchantment. Upon the looks of,
Barry, is that you? I thought I smelled a rat.
Through billowing smoke came a leashed, aged bulldog revved up to defend her honor all of these years later. A consequence of splitting is that, much like the butcher, the dog had taken sides. It would have been jarring had the little alien beast not been doused in little mittens and a scarf. "Hello!" The bulldog abandoned its honor and ran to Barry to say hey.
Down, Bastilian.
She spat out, in a fur that PETA would kill to remove from her angular frame. Such a diva. Of course she renamed him. Anyway, I was just about to leave. I didn't come here on purpose. Honestly, I avoid the street and your little henchman and your little dog, too. But it was too late. Bastilian, formerly known as Batty, was licking the exposed calf of Barry's left. A wondering, bulging eye candered up to Barry's fish, and thus the excitement source. Beta ushered, "Down, bastard, down," puckering up at the grave sight before him. "What a drooling little hairy beast. You let them dress you up like this? Like a child? We are not the same. And such a ferociously hairy beast. Oh, Miss Henrietta."
Down, Bastiliano.
That may be a sign that the book sucks. Or that I need more water, and that little droplet didn't help.
Down, Bastilino.
Though she wasn't Italian, she liked to pretend at times that she was. Famously, she had auditioned for the role in My Cousin Vinny, but lost out to she who must not be named, for that could have been Henrietta's Oscar. In another universe, perhaps she did win it, and didn't need to focus on her exes so much. Alas, here we are, in this misfortunate universe indeed, but what a visual.
We do not make friends with the enemy.
She turned to the door held by Bam Bam and stood with a questioning linger. Is she gonna attack or invite me in? It remained unanswered, lingering with the trails of smoke and unwinding mitten. Barry, just through with patting himself down for his essential phone, wallet, keys, was paying her no mind. He had taught himself years ago to look away from this modern Medusa, ensnarled enough for the both of them in the dreams and the drama of her own volatile flair. Gotta avoid the snare of this Medusa's gaze. Sure, she'll lure you in, but not before you that snapping stare of truth that turns you into such riddled regret. This is a snake reference, if you can't tell. Stoned you'll be, stoned you'll feel. Henrietta remained, herself like a statue, lingering in a moment. Barry wondered if the whole city stood still with her as she shouted something he swore he would never do again. A flavor from his lips he could not unmutter. "Can I use your phone? I left mine in the cab." Henrietta thawed, and quickly. She was reared up full throttle. I want you to picture it. A very, very old man in his nightcap, holding a fishbowl, running for his life on the Upper West Side. You got it? Great, because Henrietta, Bastilian, and Bam Bam chased our little expletive Barry off of their stoop, down the corner, and further away. Now, whether Bam Bam was half-assing his run, or being gentlemanly so as to not leave Henrietta behind is part of the question we shan't be asking. I think the true culprit here is the little dog himself.
Hurry up, Bastilian,
she yelped, dragging his wide frame from behind her. "I won! Na 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 na!" Barry resented being reduced to such toddler-like behavior, but was equally impressed that he had managed to outrun 3 individuals in such an unexpected chase, in the middle of the night, after such devastating mayhem. Had the night peaked? Nope! Barry knew better as he waddled towards the huddled masses. Not Miss Liberty, but the tourists of a particular area in that city, in search for a space that he knew unequivocally would be open this time of night. A relatively safe space where he could grab a quick bite, a quick drink, and a phone all at the same time for under $5. Chapter 4. Ooh, little bonus land for you. Times Square $5 slices. Barry hated to compare things to when he was young. With, back in my day, which is a pretty unattractive statement, but he did do a comparison when reading the sign and before entering the establishment. These used to be $1 before these supers were all involved, and $1.75 with a soda. But no, now it's $5 without the soda. And no utensils. You gotta ask for utensils. What's up with that? He thought as he burst into the overly lit pizza palace of yesteryear. Boy, was it filled with a cast of characters. Even I could falter upon explaining them in such thorough detail. And not just because I stutter. The mind cannot conceive what stood, slouched, and groveled before him. Picture if a child was asked to draw a group of villains, and the kid chosen wasn't exactly known for their illustrious capabilities. So, they produced a bunch of scribbled lines, and you, let's call you the FBI in this scenario, are left to guess who these characters are. First, you gotta start out with the basics, like where do the legs start and the facial hair end or begin, and you, the FBI agent, remember, turn to the child and you just simply say, "Thank you, you've been so much help." But you're not even lying because the drawing is exactly what the characters in question look like. Yep, that's what stood before Barry. He maneuvered carefully so as not to trip amongst the scribbles, the lines, and the furballs. In wondering how such a prodigy, I'm keeping up this metaphor, okay, we're going to keep that going for a bit, including next week, so get used to it, could have drawn up these accurate things before them. He slid further and further through their webbed scribbling into the back of the store, where a true rarity lived. A payphone. Now, if you don't know what a payphone is, you're going to have until next week's episode to Google it, because that is something that I really miss. Society really had a good thing going, didn't it? All right, I hope you enjoyed that reading of Not So Marvelous. We'll be back with part 3 next week, as well as my friend Shelby, who you've known from a previous episode. She is back by popular demand to talk all things Christmas. It was a difficult episode to edit, so if the latter half doesn't make sense, you'll have the first half to say a damn to, and then the second half to go a dumb to. All right? I hope you have a great week. I'm just gonna say simply and succinctly, I'm holding a lookalike contest for a Luigi in my apartment next weekend, and I hope that you're ready for a Mario.
Because I'm trying to play Super Smash Brothers. That's time. No matter what I was saying, it's wrapped up and out.
I've had an hour. Thanks for listening and watching along with me.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, and share it with your friends. Any questions, comments, or concerns, or room for improvement can be directed to @You'veGotAnHour on TikTok or Instagram, or just to my producer directly, Chris Cappuccino, who I'm firing. Chris!
That's time. That was fun.